hate when I'm an idiot and I don't know it. I like to be aware of my idiocy, to really revel in it, take pictures. I feel we missed a prime Christmas card opportunity. I'm sorry. You should have told me.
I just finished episode 4 of season 1 of Gilmore Girls, so let's discuss. The big plot about this episode was Rory gets her first ever D at Chilton on an English paper, and Suki gets reviewed by a food critic, and he rates her risotto as just fine. So Rory gets her first D. She has never gotten a D at all, even when she was sick, even when she had broken her hand and only write with one hand, she was still able to get an A-. So this is like a devastating moment for her, and she keeps it to herself. She doesn't want to tell anyone else that she got a D. You know how when something can happen to you, but when you are telling someone what happened, it becomes real. So that's kind of like what Rory was feeling. She knew that if she said it, then it would feel more real than it was, if that makes sense. And so she didn't tell Lorelai. So Lorelai goes to her school for parent-teacher day, and she runs into Max Medina, who I remember when I watched this show a while back. I love me some Max Medina because he was in one of my childhood movies that I loved as a kid, 10th Kingdom. And so I got really excited when he was in this one, and I just kind of like how he just vibes with Lorelai, like from the first time they meet, and you can just see the chemistry there, and oh, I'm so happy. But yes, this is the first episode that Max Medina was in, so he got introduced. He's Rory's English teacher, and amazing! As you can see, I'm so happy that he's in this now. But so Lorelai goes to the parent-teacher meeting, and she meets Max Medina. Then he's the one who actually tells her that Rory got a D, so Rory doesn't even tell her. And so then Lorelai goes back to Rory. She's like, hey, why didn't you tell me you got a D? This is big, because you never get Ds. And Lorelai realizes that Rory is just feeling really overwhelmed, and she just feels behind because she stood at Chilton after the school year had already started, so she was already behind, so she's trying to play catch up, and she just didn't have time to do well on the paper. Lorelai and Rory, they then spend the whole week studying because Rory has a test coming up, and they're trying to get a catch up because this test is a big chunk of her final grade. And so the day of the test comes. They wake up late, so Rory's like scrambling. She ends up driving herself to Chilton, the 30 minutes away, and she gets hit by a deer. Not she hits a deer, she gets hit by a deer. Like a deer comes out of the woods, hits her car, and then scurries off. And so she ends up late because of that. And Rory has a big old meltdown. She finally tells Paris off because this whole episode, Paris has been a jerk to her. And also, when Rory got the D, Paris and her gang of friends were just talking about how they got A's and B's, and they're like, oh yeah, only dumb people get D's, knowing that Rory got a D. Also, with that scene, I did not like how they filmed that scene, because when Max Medina is passing out all the papers with the grades, he's basically saying some people did really well, some people did not do well, some people just need to learn from their mistakes, and so he like passes them out and everything. But my issue is when Rory gets a paper, sees a D, she just keeps it out on her desk for everyone to see that she got a D. You know, in real life, if you did not get a good grade, you are putting that paper away so fast so no one can see. And that is not what happened. Also, when Max Medina gave her the paper, he just handed it to her like it was a normal grade. No, you know, if a teacher is giving you a paper and you did not do well, they're like folding it over and then giving it to you. And they did not do this in Gilmore Girls. So I was like, okay, they could have used some real life experiences in that scene. But yeah, so anyway, let me jump back to where I was. Yeah, so Rory tells off Paris finally. She's like, what is your problem? Like, I've done nothing to you. You're just being a jerk. Is that how you get? Like, she went crazy, told her off. I was like, yes, Rory, stand up for yourself, finally. And then she also went and told off Tristan, because this whole time Tristan has been calling her Mary, like Virgin Mary. And she's like, my name is Rory, not Mary. So she tells him off, and Lorelai, when she hears about it, she's like, that's so not like Rory. Like, that's so out of character. And then when Lorelai gets called to the school because of this, then Lorelai tells off the headmaster. In pretty much the same manner. And then the headmaster's like, oh, I see where Rory got it from. And then Lorelai is like, oh no, honey. And then she tells him off again. And so the biggest thing I think as I'm watching Gilmore Girls again is I'm realizing like the parallels between Lorelai and Rory. Like when one of the characters does something, like the other kind of does too. So you're kind of seeing that similarity. And then Suki. So Suki spends the whole episode upset that she got this amazing review by this food critic, but in his review, he said that her risotto was perfectly fine. And this is like magical risotto. It helped Suki's mom live years longer than she should have because she had this risotto. Like, it's like magical risotto. So Suki is like distraught. She's like, how is he saying that my risotto is just perfectly fine? It should be amazing. It should be like the best thing ever. So she spends the whole episode trying a bunch of different risottos to figure out, is her risotto not as good as she thinks? So then she ends up tracking down the receipt of the food critic when he was there, and she finds out that the wine he had with the risotto made it not just perfectly fine, not amazing. So then she tracks down the food critic, goes to his house, And she's like, here, try this risotto with this wine. And then that's kind of like her big thing. I really enjoyed this episode. I thought that there were a bunch of like funny moments. I really like Lorelai and Rory just going off on the people that were kind of like, you know, just annoying them for the bulk of the last episodes. Like they finally reached their pushing point and they're like, okay, no. Because sometimes it does feel good to go off. Like it's not a very good constructive way to go about your problems, but I mean, sometimes you kind of have to. And so I kind of feel like they stood up for each other and they stood up for themselves, which is really good because sometimes that can be hard to do and you can feel like you're in a lose-lose situation. And so just kind of having the confidence, kind of having the just feeling good enough to be like, no, I need to look out for myself and step up, because that's definitely a hard thing to do. Okay, I will see you guys in the next video. This has been another episode of Real Talk with Noelle.